Andrew Smith is on the line with us. He is the COO of Yenkin-Majestic Paint Corporation and the author of Sand in the Gears, How Public Policy Has Crippled American Manufacturing. And I'm assuming that book is available, sir?
Yes. Hi, Tom. It's available on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble and wherever books are sold.
Okay. Sand in the Gears is the title. So if I get it, and I've read a piece of the book here, your thesis is that regulations are crippling American manufacturing. Why is it that, if that's the case, why is it that American manufacturing started going offshore when we dropped tariffs, not when we started regulating? I mean, we've been rather aggressively regulating manufacturing since the 19-teens, but it wasn't until we dropped the tariffs that manufacturing started going offshore.
Right. So my book is about 6 areas of public policy: the tax system, healthcare, the legal system, workers' compensation, labor policy, and government regulations. So government regulations are a piece of what I think has been driving the decimation in manufacturing jobs. So it's not the whole story. The conventional wisdom is that offshoring occurred to chase cheaper labor and globalization of markets. But I'm telling the rest of the story, which is that we did this to ourselves. These 6 areas of public policy have created a hostile environment for manufacturers.
And yet, in every single one of those areas, Germany regulates their companies more aggressively. Their German corporations pay a higher percentage of their income in taxes, and Germany collects a higher percentage of GDP from corporations as taxes than we do. We're at a 60-year low right now. Regardless of what the top marginal tax rate is. Yeah. Labor has German corporations. If you have more than 1,000 employees, you must have 50% of your board made up of representatives organized labor. I mean, the countries that are doing the very best in manufacturing around the world. China's a lousy example because of state capitalism, although you will find much of the same thing there, and they're starting to more aggressively regulate their companies. Seem to dispute your charge.
Sure. Well, Germany is a terrific example of a great manufacturing country. They have a very different system than we do. They have a different education system. They have a different way that they work together researching. And they also have a cultural difference. Something called technique is really built into the German culture, the way they care about precision. So this isn't a comparative study of different countries. It's really a focus on the United States. And, I tell the story of how we own the world after World War II. The rest of the industrial world was destroyed, and we had about 30 to 35 years to ourselves where we dominated the manufacturing markets.
Not so much. I mean, if you look at our international trade figures, our exports went up about 2% at their maximum around 1948. We did not, export trade. We showed a trade surplus throughout the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. And into the 70s, but it was not a significant part of GDP. Almost all of our manufacturing was for our domestic markets.
Right. Well, we've had...
and this is it's a handy myth to say, oh, yeah, we devastated Europe's, ability to manufacture goods for their own people. But actually, the Marshall Act, we didn't do foreign aid the way the Japanese do. We didn't say, here's some money, buy products from us. We actually built... we gave the Germans money to build their own cement and steel factories to make their own stuff.
Sure. Well, that may have been a better way to do it, but, they're great trading partners. And again, when you look at the jobs picture, manufacturing jobs in the U.S. peaked at about 21 million when I graduated high school in 1980. Today, there are about 12 million jobs in manufacturing. And if we had grown manufacturing employment at the same rate as the economy, we'd have about 30 million jobs. So we've got to look at the big picture here, and the book really focuses on the policies that we have in the United States that we can control. Look, there are going to be foreign competitors, there are going to be foreign markets. We're not going to have the world to ourselves anymore, but we're still a big power. We're practically tied with China for the largest manufacturing economy in the world. So we have a lot to offer the world.
But manufacturing has gone from being 25% of our GDP to 11% of our GDP, whereas FIRE, the finance, insurance, and I forget what R and E stand for, but there are variations on that, reinsurance or something. Sure. That economy, the FIRE economy, has replaced it. It was under 10%. It's now over 20% of our economy. It's the financialization of our economy. And it certainly looks to me like you can track that back to two pretty simple things: changes in our trade policies that really began with Nixon, and the whole most favored nation status stuff that he wanted to do with China to open it to Pepsi-Cola, and then Reagan stepping that up, and then Bill Clinton putting it on steroids with NAFTA, GATT, the WTO, and Reagan dropping the top tax rate on individuals from 74% down to 28%. And stopping the enforcement of the Sherman Act, so you had giant monopolies, including transnational monopolies, eating our small and medium-sized businesses, and Reagan's basically starting the aggressive dialing back of corporate income taxes to the point where during the Eisenhower administration, corporate income taxes accounted for over a third of total government revenues, and now it's less. It's just slightly more than 10% of total government revenues.
Sure. Well, I'll mention briefly the trade policy. I don't think most people who study economics would really favor imposing more trade barriers. Obviously, we want a fair playing field, but I don't think the data will really show that there's a correlation between success in manufacturing and having trade barriers. In fact,
then why did the Japanese, the Germans, the Chinese, the Taiwanese, and the South Koreans all have aggressive trade barriers?
Sure. Well, one of the things about U.S. manufacturers is that we import a very large amount of what we put into our production. So it would actually hurt U.S. manufacturers if we impose greater trade barriers.
Well, the vast majority of that is in two categories. It's oil, and that's probably 80 or 90% of everything that goes into what we're manufacturing. And our oil imports are going down steadily. And the other is rare earth metals, and that's because we closed the last rare earth metals mine in California because China was undercutting the market. Now we're reopening that mine. We're going back into manufacturing our own rare earth metals. We're starting aggressive recycling programs. So I don't see where that would be a harm to us. And Germany, most of these countries are using VAT taxes to have the equivalent of a tariff.
And that's a great segue into my proposal for the tax system. So you mentioned corporate tax rates, but one of the things my book focuses on is something different, because everybody talks about corporate tax rates. I talk about the sales tax system, and that hurts manufacturers in two ways. So first of all, we're taxing manufactured products, and in most places we're not taxing services at all. So I recommend that we stop doing that, and we have a broad base that will tax everything at a relatively lower rate. And secondly, I do propose that we have a value-added tax, a progressive value-added tax, in fact, and that will help manufacturers as well, because currently manufacturers are being taxed twice. They're being taxed on the products when they're sold, and they're also being taxed when they purchase products, because we don't have a value-added system at the state level.
Right, and I don't disagree with that. And the way that the Germans and the Chinese and are beginning to, the Chinese, but the Germans have been doing this. They've turned this into an art form. The average VAT tax in Germany is around 15%. When you aggregate at least in the automotive industry, you aggregate all the at every level of production, there's a small tax added as value is increased. And for this, from the iron ore to the steel, from the steel to the door to the car, from the door of the car to the car, and then when they export that car to somebody other than a German, they say, we'll reverse out that 15%. So that's a 15% discount for exports. And then on the other hand, if you want to take an American car and import it into Germany, they say, hey, you want to import that car here? You haven't paid a VAT tax, so we're going to charge you a 15% tax when it hits our border. That's a 30% spread, which is about from Alexander Hamilton putting into place in the third year of the Washington administration, 30% tariffs on imported goods. That 30% was roughly the average tariff rate that we had up until the early 1980s.
Right. Well, this is a pro-manufacturing book, and I'm not sure that it would be considered progressive, but there are things in Sand in the Gears that progressives will love.
Yeah. It's an interesting. It's very interesting. Andrew Smith, his book "Sand in the Gears," bashing government regulation but promoting a VAT tax. Maybe we can meet in the middle here. Andrew, thanks for dropping by.
My pleasure.
Good talking with you.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
So, how do we bring manufacturing back to the United States? I think it's pretty straightforward.